The video I made last Monday, where I talked about weird dissociative experience I had when I seen that thing, seemed like a lot of people liked that style of video. Like it got a good amount of views compared to what I normally get, and the feedback, like the comments, people were commenting. So if you guys want to see more stuff like that, let me know. Just thinking about this story, like every single time I tell it, I kind of get like a wave of heat and anxiety that comes over me. Like it legitimately freaks me out because this is one of the scariest things that ever happened to me, especially being a kid. Basically, me and my cousin, okay, so when I was younger, my grandparents used to live right in front of a cemetery. Like their backyard was basically a cemetery. And there were a bunch of people, it wasn't our family or anything, but there were a bunch of people buried there. And to give like a little background, cemetery that was in our grandparents' backyard, it was fenced in, and there were, I want to say 20 or 30 people buried in the cemetery, but it was like fenced in with a chain link fence all the way around it from one end to the other end. And it wasn't just in our backyard, like it went all the way over to one of our neighbor's yard, and then the other side went all the way down to our other neighbor's yard, and it ended right where his yard started. I'm pretty sure like our grandpa owned the land, and all that was a part of it. And we never seen anybody get buried there like while we lived there. I don't know if he did, if my grandpa did, but all the headstones and stuff read people that died in like the 60s, the 70s. I think the latest one I seen was like 78 or maybe sometime in the 80s. But nobody had been recently buried there. I know that when my mom was younger, when she was a kid, she was born in the 80s. She didn't live there. They lived in another house. So they must have moved there in like the 90s or the early 2000s or something. I was born in the early 2000s, so it had to have been, I guess, in the 90s, maybe even in like 1990. And me and my cousin, one night we were outside playing, and my grandpa, he had a four-wheeler trailer that he would use to haul his four-wheelers whenever he would go like riding and stuff. And like it was parked in his backyard, and it was kind of older. He was working on replacing like the decking for it, like the wooden stuff. We were outside playing, and we were like jumping around on the four-wheeler trailer. We were running by but he had a big tree in the backyard, like a huge tree. I don't know what kind it was, but it was like very large. And to add to the story, to like to kind of portray the scale of this tree, every time he would go hunting, he would, if he killed a deer or something, he would bring it back and he would hang it up from this tree. And there was one time when he had two hung up on the tree to skin them at one time. The branches coming off of this tree were probably like 2 or 3 feet in circumference. I don't know, it might be like an oak tree or something, but it like the base itself, like the actual tree, I want to say it was like 10 feet, 15 feet. Like it was huge, and it could be me misremembering it from my childhood, but like I remember it being a huge tree. Like 3 people probably could not wrap their arms around this tree. And it was I live in Kentucky, and I always have, so I don't know what kind of trees are native to here. It wasn't a redwood or anything like that, because I don't think those are native to Kentucky. But like this tree was massive. And my cousin, he jumps on the four-wheeler trailer, and his leg, he falls through like the decking of it. The wood breaks, his leg goes through it, and he hits his leg. And as soon as this happens, we look over to the edge, like the end of the cemetery for some reason, and there was like this floating light, like a floating orb of light. Like it didn't look like a lantern, it didn't look like a person carrying anything, but it was kind of mimicking that motion. Like it was bouncing like it looked like somebody was walking, and they were like taking really high steps, and like the light was bouncing up and down as it was coming around the edge of the cemetery, like the fence. And we just sat there and looked at it for a second, and I went over to get closer to look and see, because I thought it was like somebody coming up, like one of our neighbors or something coming up from the riverbank, because there's a path that led down to the riverbank, and people would go down there and fish all the time. So we went down there, not all the way to the edge of the fence, but like halfway, like right where the tree was. And I got close enough to where I could see that there was literally like nothing there. It was just a floating ball of light. And it was like moving pretty quick, and then it rounded the corner, and as soon as it rounded the corner, it like started coming towards us. Like it was still moving at the same speed. It didn't speed up or anything, but it started moving towards us. And as soon as it happened, I turned around and I tried to like dead sprint, because I was scared to death. We were both probably like 7 or 8 years old. So I turned around, and my cousin was still sitting in the four-wheeler trailer. I turned around and tried to run, and I like twisted my ankle. I hit my ankle on the tree, because it had big roots sticking up out of the ground. And I tripped over it and like rolled my ankle, kinda, landed on the ground, tried to get up. I stood up for a second, and then my foot was like, I legit could not walk on it. It hurt so bad. My cousin, his leg was already hurt because he fell through the wood and it like scratched him up and everything. But he helped me up, and he was like limping and I was limping, and we were trying to like run around the side of the house from the backyard. We were trying to run around the side of the house. We got to the corner of the house right before we rounded it, and we turned around to look, and it was still following us. Like, it was still moving at the same speed and everything. It didn't speed up, but it was still following us. And we ran as fast as we could around the house all the way to the front porch. We sat on the front porch steps waiting to see if it would come around the house. If it wanted to, if it was a person, it was coming from the left side of the house. It was like right at the left side of the house. It could have rounded that left side of the house and been at the steps way quicker, been at the front porch way quicker than we would have been if we were going around the side of the house that we went around. We sat there and waited probably for like 10 minutes, and nothing at all happened. We didn't see anything, nothing came around the house, and we went into the house to tell my grandpa about it, and he was like, he kind of thought we were crazy at first, but then he told us a story. But somebody had went down there one night, and they were like drunk, and they went down, they took the same path to get down, like they rounded the cemetery, went down the hill to get to the riverbank, and they were going to fish or something because they were drunk. They just wanted to spend the night by themselves, I guess. But then something happened, and then the next day they never came back home. So their wife or significant other, whoever, girlfriend, went looking for him and came and asked my grandpa. My grandpa said he seen him go down the riverbank, and so they went down to the riverbank to look for the guy, and they searched and searched, and then they eventually stumbled across him, and he was just dead. It looked like somebody, if I'm remembering this right, it looked like somebody had like hit him with a blunt object. Like, it looked like somebody like bashed his head in. He was just laying there dead. And to my knowledge, they never found out who did it or anything. We just took that as it was probably that guy just coming up, his spirit or something coming up. But it was legit like a floating ball of light with no anchor to the ground. Like, there was nothing to tie it to the earth. There was nothing holding it, nothing. It was just straight light, just a floating orb. And it was like a warm shade of light, like it was orange, like a lantern would. That's why I thought it was a lantern. And people would go down to that riverbank to fish all the time in the nighttime. It was like a very popular spot. So we thought it was just a person. And then once we got close enough to see it, it legit freaked me out and sent me on a frenzy. Like, after my grandpa had told us a story about the guy that got bludgeoned to death, we went back outside, and all this was happening at like 10 o'clock. And when we stayed with our grandparent, we didn't really have a bedtime. They kind of let us go to bed whenever we wanted. We went back outside to check if the thing was still there, if the orb was still there. But instead of going all the way back around to the part of the house that we originally had ran around, we went to the part that I said that if it was a person, he could have cut through the backyard and been at that side of the house way quicker. So we kind of peeked around the corner of that side of the house, and we didn't see anything. There was nothing there. That area was really muddy because it was summertime, and it rains a lot in the summertime in Kentucky. And we even looked for like footprints and everything after we seen that there was nothing there and the coast was clear, to see if somebody had come up from the riverbank. But there was no footprints, no boot prints, no. I hope to never experience something like that again. It was genuinely scary. If you guys had any scary stories about when you were a kid, or any scary stories you want to share, drop them in the comments. I'd like to read them, and maybe make a video of me reading them or something. So give me your scariest stories. Comment like the scariest experience or the most horrifying experience that you've ever had, like paranormal wise, or even realistic, like if you were followed or something by somebody. And I'd like to read them with permission from you guys. So comment if I can read them. If not, but I'd like to just read them just to see if anybody's had anything similar to that. But if you enjoyed this video or this style of video and you want to see more, let me know. Comment down below, like this video, share it with your friends, all that good stuff. And I'll see you in the next one.